Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing? Yeah, I was lost in thought. Imagine that, right? It's like, hey, gee, Steiger's lost in thought. There's a that's a-
Hello there, everybody.
already. There we go. Got to put the delay in. Ding. And if those of you who use headsets, you know exactly what I mean. It's like, whoa, man. It's like, okay, do a hearing test again. Can I get anyway? So how is everybody as I get over here and as we pull out of the I don't know, it's the station, rest area, reality, go back into reality. I don't know. It has wide connotations. So favor be to us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. And I see that Kaz, if you can get on Tuesday with the ladies, love to. And wow. I mean, humbled, honored. Um, yeah. I mean, to have a song and it's, you know, songwriters are storytellers and stories it's what makes us who we are. We love telling stories, whether it's about our life or somebody else's life. And Kaz is a wonderful, wonderful musician and songwriter. And she just, wow, Kaz, thank you. And Amber, thank you, darling. I mean, beautiful edit work. So I'm honored. You know, it's like Robert V says, "Well, you got your own song now." Yeah. So Kaz, I'm going to make use of that. Thank you. And who'd have thought? Yeah, favor. That's what it's all about. That's what we do. Yeah. Nothing missing, nothing broken. We are changing things when we speak that because change is the word. Whatever that change may be, it's kind of cool, really. Uh, up to you. So, um, in fact, let me make sure that that is off. And as I'm talking here, so again, beautiful. This is a song that you can really get into some really far out meditation. So I hope y'all can hear that. That goes through the audio system that I had to put together. That cool. Mm-hmm. There you go. So make sure to check that out, Kaz. That is, as I go right over here to pause that. Wow, it's just beautiful, 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 beautiful. And thank you. Honored and well, blown away. Yeah. I can't wait for my wife to hear it. She's on jury duty. Could you imagine that? So we're doing our share of, you know, our as a citizen, as a part of the community, jury duty. It's everything that, people never want to do. But if you're ever in that situation, you want people who would think, at least have some, things that are about you that they can identify with. So anyway, Kaz, much love to you. And Amber, you really do have a talent. What is no, hopefully I never thought about that, Noble, actually in a cooking thing. Well, there you go. That's everything. Things are possible the way I look at it. So anyway, happy Friday, Philosophers Friday. It's a beautiful day. Fall has definitely arrived here where I live. It's refreshing. Yeah. There was some oppressive freaking days. Wow. And this boy here, I mean, I last 20 years been in Colorado. It's like we didn't have that type of humidity. Ouch. So anyway, tomorrow is Lynn and Lisa are What is this? The 12th year anniversary. Yeah. Yeah. 12 years ago, this day, we were actually on the island. We got married on a Friday. We were on the big island, right on the Kona coast. I got it down. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. If you're ever there, we haven't been there obviously in a while, but the Four Seasons. That's all I got to say. Anyway, so what's up, everybody? How is everyone in the chat room? Have I not missing the chat? I guess maybe, I don't know. Appears to be, unless no one's really talking. Because no, that's not true. I can see that as well. I don't know. Well, it seems like maybe the chat isn't there. It is. It's working on the other side. So, hey, I can do it on that one as well. So, what is? Well, thank you, Goddess. Appreciate that, Nina. Thank you, thank you. Now that I can actually see the chat, it's like, geez. Look up Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher. Yes. Hmm. We'll have to do that. Maybe get a quote for the whole, Fridays thing. Yeah. Mary, how you doing? Ruby, hello, Anne, good to see you. Jackie, what's up? Linda Espinoza, how are you doing? Rabbit Hole Driver, what's up? So, thank you all. Amazing journey. So there is some crazy stuff. I mean, seriously, some crazy stuff. That's why we speak nothing missing, nothing broken. Because the outside may in fact be unbalanced. That's a fair word. Definitely. That's our ferocious watchdogs. Really, really big. They're huge. And at least in attitude, I'll put it that way. I love that dog. So anyway, how are you doing? As I'm distracted there.
I did not get picked.
I am. Okay. So she just told me, my wife comes in and said she did not get picked. So there we go. Anyway, so as I said, there is some whacked up stuff going on. Here in the United States, just a little FYI for everybody. This is according to Bloomberg. Gas in the United States, it is said it's going to increase, and in some cases almost overnight, over $1 a gallon. So if you have a car or whatever, and might want to fill up. And get that gas next week will increase by at least $1. Crap. Ain't that fun? Sure, that's why you need Magick. I mean, it's like, geez, if you don't believe in the prosperity message, then you can believe in the fact that you can actually attract money. It works. It's a law of attraction. It works. I mean, just how it is. And so if you want to attract something, that's how you do it. Make love to money. Now I got Barry White in my head, Thank you, Chloe. Appreciate it. So anyway, yeah. Barry White. I mean, that dude was the epitome of what, if you were put sex to music, I think Barry White would fill that title perfectly. Mm-hmm. going to be doing a show tomorrow with Ryder Lee, Raised with Giants. Got some good stuff over there. So, in that vein, continuing in that thought, how about this one? So now, and I read the article, there are priests, and apparently, depending on, what you want to believe, those within the Vatican that say that the sitting Pope is not the Pope. Well, if he's not the Pope, then what is he? What was it? The McCain? I'm trying to think. I did a whole thing. Madani, and that's not correct, but I'll think of it. Malconi, I believe. Prophecies. Now, his prophecy was that this Pope sitting now was the anti-Pope. And you got to look at a lot of their doctrine and theology. It's radically changing. It could be said that there is a whole different Jesus on the scene. It ain't no way it's the one that there's purporting that was 2,000 years ago. That cat's long gone. But anyway, so they're speaking out that Francis is not what the devotees think he is. Man, I'm going to tell you what, everything's like upside down, all turned around, inside out. Woo! So the Pope is not the Pope. McCartney prophecies apparently coming to pass. Again, is prophecy time travel? Or is it strictly, this grand theater that's taking place that has many different vignettes happening and unfolding within the theater? But no matter what the vignette of the play is, the theater is still the theater. And apparently the theater has an ending already planned for us. Well, having said that, yeah. And how about that quote by John Adams? No democracy has ever yet not committed suicide. Some would say that is what's happening to us right now. Interesting thing on this, the odds. The Vegas odd makers have increased the likelihood, and 4-1, something like that, that the likelihood that the United States will be in either civil war or a war defending the homeland, or both. And get this, by 2025. Now, I don't know, but isn't this odd that they're coming up with this date? In fact, to tell you how serious this is, give me a second here as I pull up this article from Market Watch. And this was one that you had to go, what? So this is Market Watch. And it's interesting because the odds are now that the United States will be in some civil war. And when you look at, I read Market Watch. I mean, if you own stocks or an IRA or in anything like that, you got to keep up with it. So it says that this analyst is looking at events in America the same way you'd look at them elsewhere. You go down a checklist assessing each of the conditions that make a civil war likely. And what you will find is that the United States, a democracy founded more than 2 centuries ago, has entered very dangerous territory. Says Walter knows her stuff. She served on the CIA advisory panel, dubbed the Political Instability Task Force, that analyzes the conditions around the world and using a predictive model. Now, isn't it interesting that in the world that we live in, being a soothsayer, a seer, makes you very valuable, particularly if you're authentic. You most likely might get contacted by the agency or any number of potential government. And now it's interesting. One of the most interesting moves in corporate America is seeking out us, those that have more of a pagan ideology. Why? They know something. We know something. Anyway, so this Political Instability Task Force that analyzes the conditions of this predictive model forecast which countries may slide into civil war. There have been some 200 civil wars since 1946, she says. The CIA panel isn't allowed to analyze the United States itself, but Walter has done so and emphasizes that the analysis are her alone. Now, I find that interesting. So you're spending billions of dollars into these models, these predictive models, and looking on the huge geopolitical scene and factoring in who knows what. But you can't do it on the United States. Okay. If such integrity exists, all right. But it's interesting. So she said, well, apparently, I don't know. She had access to this. So Market Watch, as the article goes on to say, it says, what's eye-opening here is that when you look at the 200 plus civil wars since 1946 and their root cause, it sounds eerily like America right now. People have a false impression that it is the most downtrodden and poorest, the most discriminated against, who tend to start civil wars. Ain't so, Walter says. In reality, that's not true. The people who tend to start civil wars are what expert calls sons of the soil. These are citizens who had either been dominant politically and culturally, but were now in decline, or who had once had power and had lost it. This group believes that the country belongs to them, that they have the right to be in power, and when they lose it, they find it incredibly disconcerting. She goes on to add, they're very resentful groups that are ascendant, and they have the ones who tend to be mobilized and fight to try to reestablish control. So it's an interesting article because as you read this thing, it's clear that, we are in some kind of mess. I mean, it's just a mess. That's all I can say. As I get back over here again. So I thought, since we are together, and this is kind of like Philosophers Friday, I thought, well, what would the United States look like, say, 26, 27 years from now? Now, there's some of us who won't be here, some of us who will be here. I don't know if this message will still be here, but it's here for right now, and that's kind of cool too. So I just went in and I said, all right, let's just take a look at are there even any kind of maps out there that would even depict such a scenario? Oh boy, did I find that. Yeah. So I found this interesting because the United States, is one of these nations that, we pay blood, our own blood, for, which it's a republic, not a democracy. And the illusion is that the United States is a democracy. We are, first and above all, a republic. And they don't teach that anymore. So this is how they divided the country up as it looked today, as it would have looked back in the Civil War. And it's interesting because you see how the Confederate States, then you have the Atlantic states, and then you've got the interior states, and then you have the Pacific states. But check this out. So this is a map of the former USA 2050. The red is the Midwest People's Republic. The magenta is the megatropolis. The green is the new Confederacy. The orange, the burnt orange, go Longhorns, right? Texas. The blue is the Deverett. Yellow is the Cascadia. And then you've got the Union of New Mexico, of Mexico itself. And then you got the Northern Confederate, and then the Durango. Now, isn't this interesting? And what's even more interesting about this map is that when I looked at it, they actually went by county. Because you got such states here like Missouri. I mean, you've got a intersection of apparently actually 4 divergent groups. That really makes it a interesting place. So continuing on with this is a map that depicts the United States after the Civil War. And then what you have is what remained of the United States. In this scenario, the states came together in a constitutional convention. As the hypothetical scenario is this, that it is, and the reason why they've never had a constitutional convention is because kind of this fear. The thought is that if you brought the United States together for a constitutional convention, then the whole Constitution's up for grabs. And the fear is that there is so much divisiveness in the country today that you would literally have the United States splinter. And in this case, you have the blue, which is the current United States. The darker red, or in this case, are the Free State Alliances. The orange is occupied by the Freedom State Alliances. That would be what is modern day Colorado and New Mexico. Then you have the states with the FSA immigration policies. Now, what this is saying is that you would actually have military and civilian checkpoints at each state requiring entry into those regions now, in this case, the different alliances. And you can only imagine what that scenario, but someone has thought about this. Some think tank has put this together, and it's just, I was kind of like, really? Here is a map of, again, after the Civil War. And again, you have the Confederate American states. You had the Federation Confederacy War Zone. Interesting where that is at. Then you have basically this UN-occupied New York and D.C., which would still be the corporation of the United States of America. Then you have the reclamation invasion, and this is a real interest, tri-state alliance. Now, it's really interesting when I saw that tri-state alliance, because those of you who live in Colorado, which many of you do, there is an actual thing called a tri-state alliance, particularly where water rights are concerned. You know, it's a big deal. That aquifer is a very big deal. You have here the new Republic of Texas. Now, this is very interesting because many are saying that we're about to see Texas invoke their provision. You see, Texas was a republic. They were an independent nation, just like the United States was an independent nation. And the thing about it is, when Texas chose the side of the Confederacy, that when this, union was made after the war, the folks down in Texas said, no, wait a minute. If we're going to join this union, then we want it made clear that we have the option, we have the card, if we ever decide to use it, that we can get the hell out of here. We're an independent nation, and we're more than capable of running our own ship. So if that scenario played out, then it is pretty well thought that part of Oklahoma, New Mexico as well, would join that. Because remember, Texas is now an independent nation. It can have its own seat wherever it wants in the world, make its own trade deals. Then you got the United Californian Republic, the Reclamation Union. Yeah, interesting. Now, in this scenario, this is where China now has attacked the United States with the help of Russia. We know that the situation down on the border is precarious because of particular nationals that they know are coming in. So in this scenario, China attacks, and with the help of Russia. So in this, and as you can see, this actually came from Russia. This scenario shows that due to the superiority of the Chinese Navy now, the Chinese Navy is far more superior than the United States Navy. They've got newer ships, more newer technology. So in this scenario, this is a coordinated attack with Russia in which they attack both sides. As you can see within this is the depiction of a missile, or however you want to talk about it. And if you look, depending on which $100 bill, it shows the same thing. But anyway, this is the nuclear impact zone. Yeah. Let's continue. In this scenario, going with the previous slide, you can see how the coordinated attack against the United States is taking place. As the Russians continue to move aggressively with their current campaign, and particularly China now taking a far more aggressive stance against the United States and the United States' interests, they finally get fed up with it. And the influence is that we now know that the Chinese are well into Central America and influencing many of those governments. And so this is the coordinated attack. You can see exactly those of you in the UK, you aren't, immune. They're going to take you out most likely first. Again, these are just different scenarios of the Civil War that divides the United States. This is a map that shows the primary cities and states in which the coordinated attack would be taking place and from which direction it would be coming from. Scary stuff, isn't it? Again, this is another view of a divided United States after the collapse. And the collapse is basically dealing with economic. I mean, the United States greenback is in the crapper. I mean, there's no resurrecting it. We've talked about the national debt, and now with the BRICS coming on, and with the Saudis now joining the BRICS, where now you will have petrodollars that will be only preferred by BRICS. So as you can see, in this scenario, these are the megatropolises. The thing about it is, as well, it must be understood that if you go outside your designated region, well, it ain't going to be good. Yeah. Now, these are scenarios again. In this scenario is of the division, but not because so much of a civil war, but because of climate change coming in and drastically altering the topography and the land features of the United States. If this was to ever happen, well, yeah, it's just kind of unfathomable. I mean, but yeah. This map is predicated on, if there was this breaking away, then calculating where the potential growth in population would be anticipated to take place at. And I don't know, these cats have to be getting government grants, as a think tank. Hey, if you're out there, you ought to come talk to me. We got some stuff we could really add to this. This is from the Washington Post. I found this one interesting because this basically really puts this into scope. I mean, you have completely reshuffling of the deck. Every region now is locked in, and the ramifications of this one is just mind-blowing. Although there is evidence that if you look at transportation, distribution channels, and what have you, this is already taking place. In this scenario, Texas is the big winner. I like the Chicago, Estonia. I mean, that is just too freaking cool in my mind. I mean, it's like, yeah. And then you've got the Califorstantin. Yeah. I mean, this one, I chuckled on this one. But hey, listen, someone was thinking about this, and I have no doubt that there's this whole white paper behind this, but I found this one kind of interesting. This one is another one of the Civil War that takes place within the next 22 months here in the United States. I know it sounds terrible, doesn't it? So this one was put together in 2010. But if you look into this, it is again, and the freaky thing is always by county. I mean, that's getting down into the minutia on this. I mean, it's like, wow. And it's interesting because you see certain counties like up in Illinois and Missouri and Indiana that, are obviously part of this New Liberia. I mean, so I don't know what the hell that's up. I mean, can you imagine being like the blue and you're surrounded by red? I mean, isn't that the island scenario? It says this one here was predicated on if America were 3 states of equal population. Wow, does that not just simply go, well, that's weird? Yeah, how about big sky country? Sign me up. That's all I got. As long as I can take my telescope and we got the guitar and what have you, we'll be fine. This is another map represented each 250,000 people residing within a state. And it's interesting right now, there is the biggest exodus from certain states to other states, much more so than what we have seen in the past. And remember, this is all dividing. This is a proposed 38 states of the United States of America. America is going to collapse economically. Apparently our government, I mean, they always have contingency, what they call continuity of government services. But, you just got to look at this. Someone is paying, most likely we are paying to the taxpayer, but this has come from grants, volumes on this stuff. And again, it's interesting when you read how they've diced this up. You think about 50 states currently with, representation, I think, from Puerto Rico, the American Virgin Islands. I think I'm right on that. But whoa. Again, I look where I'm living at and wow, man. I mean, do you have a say in this? I mean, what do you do in a case? In this one, this is the post-Civil War of 2024 or 25. And this is in the year 2050. And this is what we have. A lot of republics. Well, kind of makes sense, since we are a republic. However, there appears to be other, like the Central States of America, the Republic of Texas, Republic of California. It's, again, this one here is the attack map of how they would, in certain population centers, in that event of that two-prong attack. Another mixing up, reducing the 50 states down and consolidating them into a number that would be drastically cut in half. And again, you can look at the legend of each one of these particular areas. It's curious. This is another one. And what I found fascinating as I was looking into this, I mean, it wasn't going to do, I thought, it was just an idea. I read this article, and I was reading a couple of other articles, and I'm going, something is kind of weird. And I go, well, would anyone actually put together a map? Well, hell yeah. Come to find out, they put together a lot of maps. I do mean a lot. Need someone in some halls of Congress somewhere, the CIA or somewhere, they got a group of people that I'm convinced this is all they do. They're constant looking at these potential scenarios because it's in play. I mean, if it starts to collapse, it's going to collapse very quickly. All the king's horses and all the king's men could not put the United States back together again. Look at this one. Confederacies now. And I went, okay, the Republic of Texas, that is actually what Texas, I think, in fact, actually did look like. Then you've got the Republic of the New Territory of Mexico, Kingdom of Hawaii, Republic of Alaska, Republic of California, far western states. I mean, again, consolidating down, because the theory is economically is that if there is in fact a collapse, which apparently it's going to happen, the only way that you're going to be able to rebuild this is that you're going to have to consolidate what is now the divisiveness of 50 states with 50 different potential ideas and what have you, and you consolidate those down into regional centers. Then you send representatives from the different regions. That's how the scenario works. Again, in this map is an experiment created to visualize the alternative results for various failed states partitions proposals through the U.S. history. So here's the thing. Right now in the United States, you have, I know of at least 3 different states that are proposing to break off of the state that they are now considered to be a part of. Well, once that genie gets out of the bottle, then it's a free-for-all, because people will then begin to realize the inefficiency of state governments no longer, because they no longer have their interests in. The taxes only continue to go up. They never go down. You never see government shrink in size. You only see it expand. And as it expands, the rights are trampled upon and people begin to feel repressed. What is happening now is within these states, Washington, Oregon, California, primarily, is where these group, the citizens of those areas, are saying, we've had enough of this. Listen, if we can't find representation, then we would soon break off from the current structure, allow us to represent ourselves with our own representatives. And in this case, you could see potentially how it could get totally out of control. Here's another one. I found the Idaho and the regions north up there, the nuclear rogues. Wow. And in this case, you have a number of different forms and styles of government. Everywhere from republics, everywhere to confederations, everywhere from unions. Now, if this was to ever happen, bet your ass that you would have foreign influencers from the other superpowers. If you think they're going to let us just run our own show, I don't think so. This is how it can become so radicalized. And I have no doubt that the think tanks, the CIA and other such things, they have thought about this as well. This is the disunited States of America. This one is a little more something happened. Either something happened on a worldwide scale, meaning earthquake, tidal wave, asteroid hit or something, because you can see Florida's gone. I have no doubt there's other maps that show the coast and the Gulf Coast. They're gone in. I have no idea what happens in Colorado, Kansas, Arizona and Utah. I don't know. Anyway, so thought y'all might like to see that. Yeah, I found it interesting. Just like, wow. I mean, who would have thought, right? I wouldn't have. So you're feeling very chipper and very cheery. It's just interesting, folks, because someone has already thought of this. I could have gone on, let's see. Yeah, Blazing Rasul, where we control the grid, will control. Well, it's interesting because Kissinger said in 1973 in Houston, Texas, he was attending a world symposium in there. Anyway, in that particular meeting, the reason why I know it so well, because I protested outside of that, but it was in that meeting where he was quoted as saying, the future dominant world power, whoever that country is the one who controls the food. And I would think next to that would be with the grid. But here's the other problem. When you think about Blazing Grid, think about this. I mean, our grid in the United States has not, it hasn't been upgraded in 60, 70 years. It's so frail and so fragile. I like fragile. Christmas story. Ralphie, you're going to shoot your eye out. But anyway, if you take, the catastrophism point of view, that our sun is going to go nova. Now, some believe it's could happen within many of our lifetime. If it does, that's going to be a very bad day for the world, but particularly the one that was least prepared for it. And we can kiss our ass goodbye for electricity. I mean, that's gone. I mean, it's all these different scenarios that, if we're playing chess right now, I'd have to look at the chessboard and, you're looking, it ain't looking so good for that, for the white team there. It's like, oh, crap. I mean, they're encircling, it's like, I can't make a move here, can't make a move there. We may be in check already. We may not be in checkmate, but we are definitely into check. That's why change. Because here's the thing, folks, from a philosopher's point of view, that tells me somebody else has been thinking about this, thinking a lot about it. So that means they're ahead of us. And the thing about it is, this whole slide presentation, this whole narrative goes with the apocalypse. It goes with the book of Revelation. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, now time out, man. So who's forcing this narrative? Because it's in the collective consciousness now. Someone has put it out there. I mean, when you got CBS Market Watch, when you've got, the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, I could think of a number of other publications that I read. They've all been talking lately about collapse. If you look at our market right now, the market is definitely in uncertainty. If you look at what the Federal Reserve is doing now and moving to Fed now, where, settlement is going to become on same day, but the only way you can do same day settlements or maybe potential settlements in real time is it has to be digital. I don't know if you don't realize this, but it's already digital. It's just a matter for the people that, you're not going to have the greenback. Buy gold, buy silver, right? That's my personal thought, but yeah. And then I think about us. We're growing in this. I mean, there's more and more people asking questions, more and more people, excuse me, as I don't want this to go off. That would be rude. Can we change this narrative? Is this narrative even possible to change? It seems to be so ingrained in everything. The one thing I don't see it in is pagan beliefs. I mean, we've been at this for almost a decade here studying. We know we are pagans. We're just wise country folks, that's all. But I never saw it as the pagans ever believing that there was an end of the world, that it had to have this calamity. That mankind are as sapiens, that we seem to have to, somehow we're going to get knocked down. But everyone seems to be hell-bent on this scenario of destruction. It's like the world is lusting for war. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We haven't we learned anything as a species? Apparently not. Apparently we're so ignorant, so regressed as a species that we've been quarantined from other intelligent life. We're so horrendous in our thirst for blood to enslave our fellow person that we want to see the big booms. We want to see when a rocket or drone goes off, how many people it can kill, because that's what the real number is. What's the statistic number? We've learned nothing. Our species is a war species, not warlike. No, We are a war species. We must have war. We must see death. We must see destruction. We must see agony. We must see people suffering. We must see a division of the classes, because apparently our goddamn souls are all different. Apparently, if you're poor, you got a poor soul. You ain't going to be like the upper ones who apparently have the knowledge, the understanding, the technology, the benefits of all this suffering. And these vampiric, parasitic feeders, what they do is deliberately stir up strife, division, fear, hatred. As a philosopher, I'd love to have Aristotle come in today and look at it. You know what he would do? He'd puke. He would say, my philosophy was for nothing. No one read it. No one contemplated it. It was forgotten in the ashes of burnt bodies, the ashes of free thinkers. All of them. They would abhor this day in this society. They would mock us for our technology, for it's done us nothing but enslave us. And the controllers, the puppet masters, they want division. They want you to be afraid. They want to bring misery. And we, the so-called masses, allow it to happen. We give no resistance. We give no pushback. Oh, we love to talk, but that's just mental masturbation on a different level. There's very few doers. No. Blunt talk, I know. But I don't like this scenario. I don't like what this future that they're portraying and trying to bring to pass. I don't like it at all. It's so unnecessary. For an intelligent species, we show remarkable little intelligence. And yet, the warmongers continue to beat the drums of war. They continue to send billions and billions of our dollars, and ignoring our people and spending billions into a war of death and destruction. We've learned nothing. Patton was right. We should have taken care of the business while we had the opportunity, the manpower, and the equipment. Well, that day is long gone. Folks, we've got to do something because it's coming. It's not here. It's not, let me just rephrase that. It's not coming, it's here. It's unfolding. It's like everything is typically planned out about 2 years ahead of time. We also know that that's in the reverse in economic lag when we see policy. Whether economic policy be pro or negative, the effects are always a lagging effect. Well, the only way that that can happen is that it has, first of all, had to be put into the future. It had to be planned for. The stratagem is to look at this and to set the pieces so that it has nowhere else but to go. And I love y'all. I love my species. I don't like the gods. I don't like the God of the Bible. I don't like the God of the Quran. I don't like the gods of the Vedic. I don't like any of them because they not have our interest. None of them. They kill us. They sacrifice us. I don't like that. And if it's a war on the other side, I'm ready for it. I don't like it. Of all the history books and all the books that I have in my library, it's all death, destruction. It's the constant reversing of free thought, alternative thinking. No, it's all of the same pitiful failure of thought, just regurgitated in another form or another fashion. There's no nirvana here on earth. There's no place of safety. There's no place of peace. It's an illusion. Well, but as long as I can have my, jeez. Yeah, happy Friday. But as philosopher, I look at this. Our philosophy is dead. Our philosophy is meaningless. It means nothing. Some of the greatest gifts to our species tried to shed enlightenment. And what do? We killed it. We killed the thought. We took it hostage. Rick, isn't that an odd saying? No good deed goes unpunished. Yeah, I mean, it's like, geez, what? It's like, okay, this is fine. Folks, there's got to be a better way. Religion isn't it. Jesus isn't it. Muhammad isn't it. None of it. No presidential individual, no person in politics, none of it. It's a failed approach. There's got to be enough of us smart enough to say, wait a minute. All you assholes that these billionaires, you're assholes. You could have done something, but all you did was enslave your soul because there's nothing to you. You're empty inside. You're dead. And we will mock you on the other side. You had the chance really to do something, and you did nothing. Okay. I've had my philosophical point of view on this. There's got to be a better way, folks. There's just got to be. I don't see any alien coming. I don't see any mothership. I don't see anything of this. And if this scenario is of some God that's some kind of schizophrenic that, creates good and evil and has this sick thing of wanting to see our blood spilt to make a point, that's insanity. That's insane. We've got to do better. We've got to do better, and we can. I look at all of us here. I mean, loving, caring people, but they squash our message. YouTube gaslights this channel. Why? What have I done to you, YouTube? I didn't do anything. Talk about freedom of thought. Development of one's spirit, one's soul, giving purpose to it. That's so bad? Apparently. Gaslighting. Why you do that? Shadow banning. I mean, come on. To quote the immortal John Lennon, all we're asking is give peace a chance. Okay. Let's stop beating the plowshares into spears. War is not the answer. That's an original thought. All right, folks. Much love to you. Kind of a blunt message, but it's some weird stuff. I was going to get into another aspect, but I'll pick that up on Monday. So in the interim, have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy your time and, think change. Change. We can do this. I'm convinced it. The fact that I'm even thinking about it, you're thinking about it, others are thinking about it, tells me someone on the outside is trying to say, hey, guys, get a clue. Come on, you can do this. Kaz, much love to you, darling. Robert V., Thank you there, Robert. That's a compliment. By the way, join Robert V and Nina on over her channel on Cindy's. Is it Cinday? Yes, Cinday. So, all right, folks, much love to you. We can do better than this. Doesn't need to be violence, doesn't need to be division. What it needs to be is a time of humility where every human being can come and bend on a knee and wash the foot of the person next to them. If mankind was to do that instead of the politics, the war, the division, it would humble us all. And just maybe, they might.